Alright folks, so this video is going to be your introduction to painting in the style of SUMI E, the Japanese style of painting. So for this, you're going to need a few items. You're going to need a pencil, and the very first thing that you need to do is on the back of your paper, you're going to want to write your name and your class code, so whatever your class code is, and flip your paper over. You want to do this before you put any ink down on your paper because the paper will be wet and you don't want to have to flip it over with wet ink. Alright, so name and code on the back, and then the next thing you're going to do is you'll have a few brushes. You'll have a large brush and you'll have a small brush. You may have to share a brush with a neighbor because I don't have quite enough for everybody to have their own set, unfortunately. These brushes are expensive, so you know, please take care of them. The first thing that you want to do is you want to dip each brush into clean water, and then you want to dress them. And by dressing them, what I mean is first make sure you get rid of any excess water. So squeeze them like this, and you'll have water, brushes, you'll have your tray of ink. I will give you the ink, and you will have a paper towel for rinsing and wiping your brush. So get your brushes ready, okay? And so now they will, once you dress them, you will see that they make a nice sharp point, which is great because with a SUMI E brush you can make very thick lines and very thin lines, even with a brush like this size. Okay, let's talk about this ink for just a minute. This is Black India ink. This is the type of ink that many SUMI E artists will use. And the thing that you need to know about it most is that it is absolutely permanent if it gets on your clothes. So you're going to need to be using lots of self-control and being super cooperative, being an active learner while I'm giving out directions, and be a little bit patient too, because I do have to give out ink to everyone. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do two different traditional SUMI E style paintings on one picture and kind of try to combine them. We're going to do a bamboo stalk with some leaves, and then we're going to do a wild orchid. Each of them is actually pretty easy to do. It's all in the wrist. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get some water, and we're going to put it in the left side here, and we're just going to take our brush and we're going to move it over to the water. What we're doing here is we're going to load the brush with two values of ink. So I'm going to have a light gray and a dark gray. So all I'm doing right now is I am loading the brush. So over here, this is the ink, and I know it doesn't look like it's any lighter, but trust me, it is. This is the ink that has the water in it. Another way to give water is to just kind of use your brush and squeeze like that. And then over here we have our black unmixed ink. So what we want to do is we want to first load our brush up with the lighter ink, dress it on the edge like this. Dressing helps to try not to drip like this. It's kind of hard sometimes, but try not to drip. If you do, it's okay, it's no big deal. This first painting that you're going to do is a practice painting anyways. You can also always just take your towel and just clean it up and it comes right out. Now I've got my lighter gray loaded into the brush. Now I'm just going to dip my tip of my brush into the black. So most of my brush here has the light gray with the very end having only the black. Okay, so what I'm going to do the bamboo stalk first. I'm going to lay my brush down on the side, and this is kind of quick, so you got to watch carefully. I'm just going to drag up and then drag up and then drag up, and there's my bamboo stalk. So if you know what bamboo looks like, it has these sections here, and at each section there's a little juncture. So I'm just going to get my tip into the darker ink again, and I'm just going to just sort of repaint those junctures. SUMI E is very abstract in a lot of ways. That means it doesn't look exactly like what you see. They're just brush strokes that represent what you see. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush, and now my water has become sort of a light gray, so I might use that for laying down some lighter stems. So here are some stems. You can see it's very light. But you want to work, when you work with SUMI E, you want to work light to dark, because the darker things that you paint are going to appear in the background, and the lighter thing, or the darker things that you paint, are going to appear to be in the foreground. So we will have a sense of depth, and these are going to be really, really light because it's mostly water. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my mixed gray, darker gray, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to paint some stalks. Notice how I'm holding my brush. Very, very light touch. And you can even, paint some that aren't at the junctures. Most of the stems grow out of the junctures, but maybe there's another stalk of bamboo just behind this one. And now what I want to do is I want to paint the leaves. So the leaves, you're just going to go to the end of a branch, push down, and pull up. Go to the end of the branch, push down, pull up. And what that's doing is, that is making the brush, when you push down, it spreads out. And then when you pull up, it kind of comes back to a point like that. We can do some over here. Remember, the darker something is, the closer it looks to the viewer. And the lighter something is, the further away it looks. Oops, try not to drip. If you drip, it's okay. It's just, part of your style, but try not to drip. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint the wild orchid. So the wild orchid might be over in this area here, since I have that empty space. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint the first set of leaves that are in the background. So you want to imagine that your wild orchid is growing out of the ground here. Maybe there's bamboo here, wild orchid here, and you want to push down, pull up, push down, pull up, push down, pull up, push down, pull up. Load your brush again, do another one. Push down, pull up, push down, pull up, push down, pull up. I've got a little overlapping right here. All right, push down, pull up, push down, pull up. And then we might have a few leaves that are darker. It helps if you dress your brush like this by pulling it and just load the tip up. Push down, pull up, push down, pull up, push down, pull up. Okay, and the last step is to paint the orchid itself. So these are the leaves of the plant. So you want to paint the stem like that, and then paint the petals of the flower. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then the last trick is to paint the little stamen in the middle. So there's your SUMI E bamboo and wild orchid. It's your first painting. The next painting will be self-portrait in SUMI E style.